Hey, it's Friday. You made it through the week. So we have a pretty easy day. This is all we're doing today is this worksheet. And we're introducing the distributive property as notes in a little bit different way than I'm sure you've ever seen. I kind of like it. It's not really math talk, but it's a way to think that I'm finding helps some students finally get the hang of doing distributive property. So what in the heck is that we have here? So does anyone recognize this bag? Can you just say it out loud what that is? I know a lot of you recognize this. I'm hoping someone said something to do with frosting, right? And doing cakes. Can you raise your hand if you've ever used one of these? Kind of cool. I like to eat frosting from those. That's usually what I think. I've never actually worked with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some colors. And I got a frosting bag here. So get your pink out. And we're doing pink frosting. The best. And so for frosting, what are we frosting? And I know that looks like a hat, but it's not. It's a cake. And we're going to do the cake in yellow. I'm outlining the cake in yellow. Not frosting it. Just letting you know. Okay, the cake is yellow. And yeah, I heard you say cupcakes. It's not a cupcake, okay? Not doing cupcakes, sorry. Anyone know what else it might be? Starts with an M. A muffin. These are muffins. And the reason is cake and cupcake have the same letter, and it just makes things complicated. I want to use different letters. So, too bad. We're going to call them muffins, even though they look like cupcakes. So go ahead and do this outlining. Don't color them in, because we're going to frost them in pink, right? So let's go down here. This was my cake, and I'm going to frost it with frosting in pink. Anyone had a pink frosting cake? I have not, but it looks good. All right, going to frost the whole cake. And then back in here, the muffins. Let's do some nice, thick frosting on top. Make them look really good. I wish someone would just bring this into class. So this is what it looks like to do distributive property. And all right, what does this really mean? But I wanted you to get the feel of how this works. Now, why are we frosting both of these? And I like to take your red out, because that's what we're going to use in our problem down here. All of this is in the oven. We put the cake and the muffins in the oven. We're going to call the cake with the letter C. I guess I should be in pencil here. And the muffin with the letter M. And the frosting with the letter what? Come on, frosting? Thanks, F. Frosting the letter F. And so what this looks like is when I take frosting, and I get everything in the oven, the cake and the muffin, lost you on the picture here. F times C plus M, what does it equal? It equals a frosted cake and frosted muffins. And so this is kind of what distributive property does. And it helps to think listen, I want frosting on my muffins too, not just the cake. And this is what we find happening, is that you forget to frost everything that was in the oven. All of this is in the oven, the cake and the muffins, and we have to frost everything. Okay, so this silly little story, just to go back down here and talk, how do I do the distributive property on this map? All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's look at this first problem I have down here. We're going to do 1, 3, and 5 together, the odds, and you're going to do 2, 4, and 6, and then we'll call it a day, and you'll have a good weekend. Okay, so everything in the oven is the parentheses. So I'm going to put some nice big red on my parentheses here. All right, let me zoom in on here. And in the oven, I've got the cake. And I got the muffins. And on the outside, I have the frosting. And I got to get the pink on both of these. So look above here how I wrote this. The frosting times the cake and the muffins. And what does it equal? Frosting times cake, frosting times muffin. So we're going to show it like this, the same way down here. The frosting, the cake, and frosting the muffin. And I'm not going to color both of those, but I am going to color the frosting. See how the frosting has to get to everything that was in the muffin, and this is what it looks like. So when I ask you to do distributive property, what we get here is this equals 2 times 4x equals 8x. And remember, in here, between these parentheses, it's not adding. Whenever you have parentheses together with no math symbol, it's always multiplication, and that's invisible. So I've got 8x plus, and 2 times 6 is 12. And this is our answer for doing that distributive property. All right, so let's try a couple more, and then you can do the last 3 on your own. And then that's what we're going to practice next week, is this distributive property, right? And get into some tougher problems with fractions and with decimals, which is why I've been working you so hard on that warm-up. Okay, so here we go. Here's my frosting. And I got to get that frosting on the cake and the muffin. The frosting on the cake and on the muffin. It has to be both of them. And what we get, here's our frosting. What we get is negative 4x. See, I'm frosting with a negative number because this is a term. Let's remember that this is a term, and if I have a negative in the term in the bubble, it's negative. Same with this as a term. If I have a negative in the term, and this becomes negative 8. So my final answer, negative 4x and a negative 8. You know, let's do one last one. You can do the last 3 on your own, and then I sure would love it again if someone would bring their paper up with all of this work, right? Since I'm not there to help, someone else come and show the class what it is that we're doing. Okay. Notice that this one has an extra term out here, right? We're ignoring this for right now. It's there, but when we see these parentheses here, we know we have to do a distributive property or a frosting of cake and muffin, and we do that before we do anything else. So this one looks a little bit different. So let's do this first. Well, I'm going to hang that 4x out to the side. It's still there. I got the 4x and then here I'm going to frost the cake. And don't just leave that muffin like there as a negative 5. No, it has to also be frosted. And that's the piece that we so often miss, is that I forget to frost my muffins, so to speak. Now, we're not going to talk about muffins and cake forever because it's not really a math term. But maybe it's a gimmick to help you remember how to do these. So now what do I get? I got my 4x, my 2x, and a negative 10. Oh, wait, the other day we were combining like terms. Do you remember that? And these are both x's. And so these terms are going to get combined. Do you remember the name of this thing? Was a constant term, right? And so it has one final step in this, where now I'm going, after I've done distributive property, I combine these like terms. 4x's, 2x's make 6x's, and I have my negative term. Negative 10. Final answer. All right. Good job this week. I hope you've been working hard, and I'll see you next week. Have a good weekend, everyone.